Hey y'all, Mama Kay here. Tonight I'm going to make some deer cube steak and gravy at the request of one of our sweet neighbors. Has asked me to make him some, so I'm going to make him and my family some. So, but I'm making some butter beans to go with it, and I just want to kind of show y'all real quick how I do my butter beans. First, I've melted about 3 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm going to go in. This is my seasoning meat that I'm going to go in with, and I'm going to tell y'all about it in just a second. But I'm just gonna get it all coated in this melted butter and let this cook for about, well, I'll tell you how long in the, when we get going. But I'm gonna let it cook until it starts to kind of get like a brown, like crust on it. And I'm gonna show y'all what it is. This is what I use to season vegetables, like vegetable soup, you know, other soups that have ham in it. And this is just the brand that I bought. It's Clifty Farms, and it's Country Ham Pieces and Seasonings. There's also a Lord's brand, and I do buy that brand as well. But I like to fry. Some people just throw it in there with the water and the beans or peas, whatever they're cooking, all together. But I think that you really get all the flavor by just frying it up a little bit, especially in butter. You'll kind of see it's starting to get a little bit brown. And this meat is very, very salty. If you've ever done anything with country ham, you know that country ham is very salty. In fact, when you ever cook country ham for like breakfast or something, you always rinse it before you cook it. But with this, I don't rinse these pieces because I'm not going to probably add salt at the end of when my beans get done. I'll just taste them to see if they need any salt. But normally I do not have to add any salt because of this good seasoning that comes from these country ham pieces. But I'm going to let these get a little brown caramelized crust on them. And they're on about medium-high heat. And then I'm going to add in my water. And these are the butter beans I get. They're called baby llamas in the store. I call them butter beans. I think most people from the South call them butter beans. They're just these little tiny green butter beans. So we're gonna have that with our supper, but I'm gonna get these on and then I'll be back and we will prepare our deer cube steak. Hey y'all, I'm back. Let's prepare some deer cube steak. Now, this deer cube steak I'm gonna make in gravy. So I am just gonna be flouring it, just 1 coat of flour. If you were doing chicken fried cube steak, where I was gonna serve it just like by itself, then I would do a flour and then an egg milk mixture and then flour it again. And that's what the difference to me is. That would be chicken fried, and then that's when you would serve that with just gravy poured on it. But this, I'm gonna do some smothered fried deer cube steak. So then we're only gonna do 1 coat of flour. But let's season it up. Now, this is my vintage Tupperware salt shaker. So I'm just gonna season this with salt and black pepper. This is my favorite black pepper. And I'm so upset with myself. I have not gotten batteries for my automatic ones that our cousins got us. And I just life just gets a little busy. Oh, and then I'm going with onion powder. This is coming out fast. Okay. And then garlic powder. This is usually the seasoning if I'm frying cube steak, deer cube steak, any kind of pork chops or anything like that, then that's the 4 seasonings I use. Sorry guys, had to grab a fork. Okay, we're gonna flip these over. And then we're gonna go with the same seasonings. I'm gonna just go a little fast here. I am so ready for spring. I don't know about y'all, but I know last Friday the groundhog did its thing that says early spring, and when me and Bennett were on the way to school yesterday morning. It was so cold, or I think it was Monday morning, and he got in the car and he said, "Mama, why is it still so cold? That groundhog lied. Why is it not spring yet?" And I just cracked up. It was the funniest thing. I was like, "Well, buddy, it's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. It just means we're going to have early spring in March." So that was too funny to me. All right, so I have me a pan of flour here, and then I'm just going to stick these in here like this, and then you're just going to get a good coating on either side. So I'm going to get these floured up, and then we'll move over to the stove, and then we'll get these fried up for a few minutes in our cast iron skillet. Hey y'all, I'm back. Let's get this cube steak. Now I've got my cast iron skillet. I've had it on high, but I've just turned it down to about medium to get my grease, you know, good and hot. And you're not deep frying this like I mentioned. If you were doing chicken fried steak, you're just we're just cooking, and I'm not even cooking this all the way through. I'm actually just cooking it for a couple minutes on each side, because when we put it in that pan of gravy that we're gonna make and we stick it in the oven, we bake it for about 30-45 minutes to and then it's gonna finish cooking. So I've got my floured cube steak. We're gonna go in the skillet. These pieces are all different sizes, so it's kind of like piece it all together in here to see how much you can fit in the pan to get it good and fried. I think I got this little skinny piece right here that'll go right here on the side. Oh, it smells good. All right, so we are gonna get our deer cube steak fried. And again, you're just gonna go a minute or two on each side just to, you know, brown it and start the cooking process. And then once I get this all cooked, then we'll be back and I'll show you how we're gonna make our gravy. Hey y'all, so I'm embarrassed to say that I made a big oopsie, and I was not recording the whole time I made gravy. So I'm gonna make some more gravy, and I'm just gonna insert this in the video. And I did have some oil left over from like where I drained my oil when I was frying my meat. And so I've got it heated up, and now I'm gonna add in my flour. Now I will put the exact measurements in the recipe. I'm just showing you, don't go by these measurements, because this is not going to be enough gravy to cook a pan of deer steak and gravy. This is just a small pan of gravy that I'm going to make just to show you how to make gravy, how you know it's the right color and it's ready. All right, so whisk this in. That's not enough flour. I'll add another spoonful. I guess I put a little bit more oil in the skillet than what I intended to. All right, here we go. You want it to just kind of look like a chunky sand. And then we're going to cook this for probably 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll come right back to show you the color that we're looking to achieve whenever you are making brown gravy. So here's what our color is looking like. And it's a good caramel color, and that's what you're going to go for, like a caramel light chocolate flavor. And that's the color that you want. It's going to kind of smell like it's almost like it's burning a little bit. But as long as you're constantly stirring it and you have it down on medium-low heat, then you shouldn't burn it. And then we're going to go in with, I have 2 cups of beef broth here, but again, do not listen to these measurements. Listen to the measurements in the recipe. And when you make this, you're constantly whisking. So you always make sure you're constantly whisking. And this gravy is going to look a little different because it does not have all the fry bits that the other gravy had when I was making it. I cannot believe I didn't record myself. So here is what brown gravy looks like. And let's get this down, it's gonna pop. Okay. And now at this point, I do add a little bit of milk. I probably added about a half a cup of milk to the gravy earlier. Some people don't put milk in their brown gravy, but I do. I just like to add a little bit of milk. It just adds a little bit of a creamy note to the gravy. Something that my grandma did sometimes, and I just kind of picked that up from her. So again, here's what your gravy looks like. And when I'm making smothered gravy, or making gravy to do some kind of smothered meat like in the oven, then I do make it a little thinner. So I would make it a little thinner than what this gravy is looking, just because it's gonna thicken as it's in the oven. So I would make this a little thinner, and once you add the milk, it would thin it out anyway. And then I usually do not add salt. I do add black pepper. But I don't add salt just because when you smother that meat, and that meat, the juices from the meat, and you know, the meat's already seasoned, that is also going to continue to flavor the gravy, and you do not want it to be too salty. So, so I'll just put this gravy in the fridge, and we'll have it extra with our leftover deer cube steak and gravy. Thank y'all for bearing with me with this video. And if y'all have any questions, please feel free to message me. And thank y'all so much. Hey y'all, we're back. We're gonna do our taste test, and I've got Jake again with me. Jake, slide to the side a little bit. This is our pan. Now I've already dipped us some out, so it looks a little crazy, and dipped the neighbor some. Talon, he's excited. He's on the way to get him some. But here's our steak and gravy, homemade buttermilk biscuits, and then our butter beans, and then our rice. So now me and Jake will do our taste test, and I want to show you, just look how tender this meat is. I mean, this meat is so tender, you can just cut it with a fork after cooking in that gravy, and it cooked for about 30 minutes. So, all right, Jake, let's go. That's really good.
Let me try a bite.
Y'all.
Woo! That's bussin'.
It's bussin', y'all.